right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, fellow Pandemonium travelers, this is Seattle Pandemonium Shutdown Day 137 by my count. And it's like Groundhog Day. I think I'm just going to repeat myself again and go over the same stuff because, it just keeps being the same and being terrible. So, they're continuously rioting in Portland. And they rioted in Seattle again on the weekend, and they looted, because that's what they do. Cops kind of manhandled some people and arrested them, and they shrieked and everything, and my sympathy is waned for these people. Like, they're getting what they want, aren't they? I mean, the city council's talking about defunding the police. You're getting what you wanted. They're just defunding it by like half, and you want it all gone or whatever. Anyways, the weird framing of this by the hysterical libs, right? The capital L libs, who are shrieking about Donald Trump's Gestapo are these federal police. It's a secret police arresting peaceful protesters. And I'm looking at this this is what you're going with? This is what Nancy Pelosi says? This is your framing. All right. That's stupid, because that's not really what's going on. What's going on is that they're attacking a federal building, and that's a federal jurisdiction, and they have to go in there and protect it, or they will burn it down, like they did the police station in Minneapolis. This isn't very complicated. There are peaceful protesters. Don't get me wrong. Like a lot of the mommies, they had the mommies out there, whatever. Some of them were not even real moms. I don't think they just said that they were, but. They, while somewhat obnoxious, singing a lullaby song, they leave. It gets dark out. They get tired. They have jobs and stuff. They go home. Now, all that's left is the goofy Antifa people who like to break things and start fires and throw fireworks at people and all that stuff. So they start tearing down barricades. Then they get to the building proper. They start trying to break windows, and then these, I don't know, are they U.S. Marshals or oh no, they're CBP, right? Customs and Border Patrol, SWAT kind of unit, and they come out, they pepper spray some people, put the barricade back up, and then they go back inside. And then rinse, repeat. If they would stop doing that, then those federal law enforcement that people are calling Gestapo wouldn't be there. They're causing this to happen. Now, does that mean Trump has fallen into a trap? Yay, nay? I don't know. I mean, is this a PR trap, or is this just bad activism? Because people like Tim Pool sort of say that there's this intent behind all this, that this is an intentional PR move by leftists to create all this chaos so that it looks like Trump is being an authoritarian. The problem is, I think that normal people are just getting sick of all this stuff. Defunding the police, I don't think actually sounds that good to most people. I mean, you can explain it in a way, well, apparently they can't, because they have to change their definition of what defund the police even means. But I don't think it's actually that popular. And Biden is just, Biden endorsed it because he'll just endorse anything because he doesn't actually have a platform. But rioting, rioting outside of the federal building causes the federal police to have to come out. If they just rioted in front of Ted Wheeler's house, then local police would come out. But Ted Wheeler has said we're not even going to put police out there at night. So what's going to happen is, again, it's the same thing as the CHOP. It's just overnight. At night, Portland becomes the CHOP, right? No enforcement of any rules, really. I mean, There haven't been any deaths in Portland as far as I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe shootings and normal violence are up, but like at the protests, I don't think there's been any deaths. I'm sure there's been thefts and assaults and probably rapes and things, but we won't necessarily know that because there's no one's even trying to file police reports on crimes when the police have basically said that they're not going to enforce law after sundown. I mean, that's kind of what's happening here, right? So when someone does finally get killed, which is inevitable, is that on Ted Wheeler? Is that on the police chief? Do they follow what the mayor says? The mayor sets policy for the police department? I don't know. It's either COVID shenanigans where no one really knows what's going on, or it's rioting and people being mad about stuff that also sometimes doesn't make any sense. Like people in Seattle rioting for change here when this all started with Minneapolis and George Floyd, and then people being, again, mad at Trump as though this is Trump's fault and not a continuation of our, ham-fisted law enforcement system that has existed for, I don't know, 100 years or more? Like, it's been roughly this way since at least, like, midway through the 20th century. It started to change in the, 70s to the 80s, right? And in the 90s when they started to militarize them. But now they have computer systems and, ID systems, fingerprints, and all this other stuff. They do have more weaponry. They have all their less than lethal stuff and everything else. This all existed before Trump, and the highly blue areas, these Democrat-run cities, I'll say it again, it's a bit glib, but I'm not wrong. Democrats are bad at policing black people, apparently. That's what's happening here, right? We're not talking about rural police are killing black people. This is highly publicized urban encounters inside major Democrat-run cities. Now, I'm not saying, again, Republicans would do better. I mean, they're using the same, they're using the same instrument, right? The law enforcement as it exists. So I can understand a desire to reform it so that we get better outcomes, right? Like, when I'm being charitable to the far lefties and the libs, the progressives, the wokistanis, I can say, okay, guys, I understand you want to make the world a better place right now. Not later, you want it right now. Well, on the one hand, okay, let's maneuver, let's do something, right? But at some point, you have to recognize that meaningful change takes time, okay? You can announce something like, marijuana is now legal. That doesn't mean there's suddenly all the marijuana everybody wants to smoke. There's not all of a sudden shops. Like, it will take time for people to ramp up the industry, right? So, readily available marijuana doesn't happen just because you say it's legal, okay? Now, granted, a lot of marijuana would come out of the black market into the regular market very quickly if that did happen, but to actually reform our society, I guess, around something like legalized marijuana, it's going to take time. You have to figure this stuff out. There's people in jail for it, right? You gotta figure these things out. Now, at some point, and this is one of the problems, is I don't think anyone's actually negotiating very well, because these riots continue to happen, at least in Portland. At some point, you can't just shout Black Lives Matter. You have to sit down with legislators, city leaders, community leaders, and author policy. Now, this is where things just can go so wrong so fast. Because if your policy is something like, if your policy comes out to like what this one city councilwoman was talking about, they're going to prioritize keeping black and indigenous people of color officers if they have to slash the budget. So think about that. Now, that's not policy. that was like something she said in a tweet, right? But that's her thought process. Imagine something like that getting written into the new police reform bill or whatever. How are they defunding it? Who is getting defunded? Beat cops? Administration? Forensics? Are you cutting homicide investigation? Are you cutting state patrol? Are they cutting road safety? That was weird. Like, the police aren't just one monolithic thing. Like, I think they contract like 911 dispatchers, right? Like, I think 911 dispatchers aren't even police. Do I have that right? Anyways, are the grown-ups talking? Like, I can understand some 20-year-old kid out of a job, pandemic, wants to believe in the world being a better place, 20-year-old white kid with dreadlocks being willing to go out and get clubbed over the head because he thinks he's doing the right thing. And then a bunch of people all do this, things get a little crazy, and then a building gets burned, stuff gets looted. In the chaos, people take advantage of it. The politicization and the efficacy of it starts to wane, like the CHOP. The CHOP became an abomination rather quickly, and it became apparent to protest leaders that they didn't really want to be associated with this. And it's completely understandable. It just turned into a total shit show. And Portland is looking like the same thing. Now, again, the optics thing, like Trump can just keep putting the federal cops out there, those border patrol guys, just keep putting them in there and just keep shooing the protesters away and keeping them from damaging the building anymore, and just keep paying them to do that. And we'll just do this in perpetuity. The negotiation is supposed to be that this is leverage to get some kind of concession. But this is what I don't understand. Ted Wheeler is a spineless jellyfish. Like, isn't he caving to your demands, or is he actually trying to not defund the police? Does he know that that's a bad idea somehow? Like, does he believe that it's going to be a bad idea? Because this is sort of a far left thing, this defund the police entirely. I don't think you're going to get like normal people on board with this, even if it's somehow correct, even if it's workable. I just don't think that it appeals appropriately to normal people, and this is part of the optics thing. Trump looks like he's trying to reinforce order in pandemonium. And to normal, more like moderate people, it seems appropriate. Like, Nancy Pelosi can try to frame it as secret police stormtroopers, and it's like, I don't think so. They're not going out and rounding people up like at their houses. They're not black bagging people and taking them off for rendition or whatever. Like, they are literally not even shooting people. They're trying to like not hurt people if they can avoid it. They're only using less than lethal stuff and like pushing people. I just don't. The language is not matching up with what we're seeing, and the level of hysteria isn't matching what my level of concern is personally. Now, it's like at some point we have to just wait and see. And I think that some cities are gonna try this out. I mean, they're gonna defund their police by whatever amount, and I'm afraid that the citizenry are going to basically eat that cost. They're gonna eat that shortfall. It could be really bad, guys. I don't want to be naive here. Like, yes, our policing system is flawed, right? We have these negative outcomes. We want to stop the negative outcomes. We need to reform law enforcement. Okay. But just defunding them, I am scared, guys, that is going to be a dinner bell for every criminal, and then when criminals start criming on each other, it's going to justify more crime, and then you're going to have to like defend yourself from criminals, and it's going to give you an excuse to, you know, commit crimes if everyone else is committing crimes. I mean, we could have like a sort of slow rolling purge kind of thing happen as we adjust to the new normal, and there are people who are not prepared to go through this. Not mentally, not physically, not economically, not from a mental health standpoint. Like, it's could be bad, you guys. If we're being naive here and acting like police are causing all this crime, I don't think so. We're gonna find out though. But the problem is, I think we're gonna find out the hard way. All right, that's enough rambling from me for one day. I'll talk to you later. Bye.